Good Wednesday evening. What the heck? Good Wednesday evening. There we go. Sorry about that. No feedback in my headphones, as Marshall Mathers once said. I'm Matt Gajtka. This is Cougar Puck Radio as your Catholic Central Cougars get set for the first ever OK Conference tournament. They are seeded as number 6 coming out of the Rue Division from the regular season as they face the 7 seed from the Fisher Division, the Grand Haven Buccaneers. Your Cougars are officially the home team this evening with a record of 9-12. In the OK Rue, they picked up victories in the regular season against Grand Rapids Christian, Rockford, as well as, Granville was out of league, but a victory in the OK nonetheless, and then a Forest Hills Northern and Eastern victory. That wrapped up their successful slate in the OK Rue. So the Cougars found themselves just barely out of the top 4, just a couple of points out of the top 4 in the division. And so as a result, they are in what is called the second tier of this tournament. Effectively, there are 2 separate tournaments going on. The top 4 seeds in each of the 2 divisions started play last night. We had a couple of overtime decisions. Granville and East Grand Rapids came out on top, as did Caledonia and Byron Center. And today starts the Tier 2 version of the tournament, which will continue over the weekend on Friday and Saturday, both at Southside, home sweet home for the Cougars. But today they're home away from home. They are the home team as the higher seed as they come off their trip down to Detroit for the MIHL Showcase. And welcome you into the broadcast location. Back against the wall literally again here at Griff's Georgetown. But Catholic Central dropped a couple of close games, as you may know, down in Trenton for that showcase. They lost 2-0 to Capital Cities and then led the game 3-0 against the MI Unified Griffins, a co-op team from the M1 corridor, and eventually fell 4-3 as they gave up 2 goals in the, 3 goals in the second period and 1 in the third period. So for the second time in the last couple of weeks, Catholic Central could not hold on to an early 3-0 advantage in a game. But they are getting healthier. A bug that's gone through the locker room has left this team at basically half speed for much of the month of January as we turn the page into February, hoping that increased health leads to better performance and better results. In the end, it's still 2 weeks to go before the regional, but with the institution of this new tournament, the Cougars have something to play for this week. And so that part of it is exciting, should be an added boost of adrenaline as Catholic Central tries to break what is the longest losing streak for the program since 2016-17. Catholic Central was 9-7, and now they stand at 9-12. Their last victory was against Forest Hills Northern and Eastern, the one I brought up. That was their last win in OK Rue, of course, as well. But since then, they have suffered 5 losses. 4 of them went down to the wire, 3 of them by 1 goal, and in 2 of them they had a lead as well. So it's been difficult. It's been a challenge. It's been frustrating, I'm sure, for the team and for the coaching staff, but they are hopeful still with another week to go in the regular season. And then, like I mentioned, the playoffs beginning, the regional playoffs starting on the 17th of this month. Still plenty of runway to get it going, especially when you consider the health factor, and that is an X factor that comes into play for some teams more than others, certainly more for Catholic Central than others so far this year. And they're also still missing their standout sophomore defender Noah Onstadt, who suffered an injury a few weeks back and is still out of the lineup. So challenges to overcome, but this matchup against Grand Haven, first matchup against the Buccaneers in more than 4 years. It should be fun to see these 2 teams refresh it as they re-rack for the postseason, the first ever OK Conference tournament. Starting lineups being announced right now, so I'll throw it down to the ice with the video feed, and we'll get you set to go for the drop of the puck in just a few moments here on the East Rink at Griff's Georgetown in Jenison.
Veterans, the flag law gives you the opportunity to
Moments away from puck drop. We got the national anthem in eventually. We figured it out at the PA booth. Hey, sometimes the tech gets the best of all of us, including yours truly. Catholic Central starts with the following 5 skaters on the ice. On defense, the senior co-captain Henry Kwiatkowski, along with fellow defenseman, fellow senior, fellow co-captain Braden Bates. Jackson Dozema, Cooper Moss, and Isaac Kappinga, the starting line up front for head coach Mike Slobodnik in his 15th season. The Cougars, I mentioned, trying to break out of a 5-game losing streak as they go into the postseason, technically, even though this counts as a regular season game. But something different this year for the OK Conference, and I think it's awesome that everyone's guaranteed 3 games under tournament circumstances. Gives you a little bit of a chance to test out where you're at. Grand Haven is led by their senior co-captain, C.J. Henke, a towering presence at center. There you see him taking the draw as we start the game. Henke, 15 goals, 18 assists, 33 total points on the year for Grand Haven. Second straight year he has led the Buccaneers in scoring. The Buccaneers in blue and gold, and your Cougars, of course, in white and blue. Moss to the corner, gently pokes it to the corner for Isaac Kappinga. As he turns away from pressure. Avery Anderson, co-captain for Grand Haven, gave it away to Catholic Central. Braden Bates, signature fake with the puck, and he sent it in deep. Keaton Poole knocks it around to the near side. Julian O'Brien turns it back. The Cougars are pinning in the Buccaneers at the moment. 40 seconds into the game. Cooper Moss near the end of his shift. Kappinga goes off for a change, but Moss and Dozema continue to hack away. Dozema distributes back to the point. Braden Bates nearly run off, but he still managed to put the puck below the Grand Haven goal line again with Keaton Poole in his face. And finally out with it comes C.J. Henke. Henke onto his backhand as the puck started to roll on him there randomly. And in the end, simple dump and chase for Grand Haven as they change lines. Carlander, leading assist man for Catholic Central, 10 on the year. Let it drift off his stick right to Braden Bates. Still out there is Bates, double eight in white. He could skate all day probably. 5 o'clock start, and the Cougars are off to a strong beginning to this one, as they were against the M1 Griffins in their previous game, building that 3-0 lead. Ten Harmsel, lead pass. Casey Ten Harmsel scored his first varsity goal against the Griffins down in Detroit. So did the man on the forecheck there, Cohen Potter. The puck's flicked to center. It hit the skate of the linesman. So Carlander pushed it just inside the blue line, where it'll be controlled by Noah Noonan, who angles it back to the hulking defenseman Ryan Bates, and he clears for Grand Haven. Grand Haven 6-13-2 on the year for head coach Scott Compton. Carlander, a high shot, well over the top against the netminder John Grebar. Grebar getting the start, the junior. Both he and Colton Rogers have split duties this year in the Grand Haven crease. Turning it up the wall, Noah Noonan. One try, second try, Myers pins it to the boards. Grand Haven went 2-5 in the Fisher division. That's how they got to the 7th seed. They beat West Ottawa and East Kentwood. The Fisher dominated by Granville this year. The Bulldogs went 7-0, and they won their opening game last night in the Tier 1 half of the tournament, beating Forest Hill Central 2-1 in overtime. Bates kicked it up the wall, but Cooper Moss squelches that breakout. The Cougars winning the territorial battle by far so far through 3 minutes of play. Kwiatkowski spins it in deep. Grebar couldn't stop it back there. Kappinga on it, off to Moss, behind the goal. Henke checked him, cleared it around, but not out. Bates shot it off the leg of Keaton Poole, who charges ahead for Grand Haven, but winning the race. Kwiatkowski pushed it to the near side boards. Grant Wheeler on it, threw it right to the front of the net. Aaron made a save. It's still bouncing loose, and Aaron finally pounces on top of the puck after a couple of whacks at it for the Buccaneers. We remain 0-0, 13:35 to go in the first. Unlike at the West Rink, no access to Ethernet here on this side, so my apologies if we're getting some buffering issues on the feed. Like I said, we'll be back at Southside this weekend, regardless of what happens today. A shot right on from the faceoff win by Avery Anderson, who has 10 goals from the blue line. Poole couldn't poke it on net. Aaron heard from a couple of times early on. He's in the game. Heminger to the corner, centering it, looking for Cohen Potter, charging to the net, and Potter slid into the goal. and knocked it off its moorings. Both Potter and Ten Harmsel, like I mentioned, broke their maiden at the MIHL Showcase, both getting their first varsity goals. Pretty close to each other. Potter scored to make it a 1-0 game late in the first, and then Ten Harmsel scored on a beauty of an individual effort early in the second. So it was a promising start until Charlie Price, the captain of the Griffins, went off for a hat trick, and he also added an assist in that win for M1 Unified. Behind the goal is Bates, circles the net, gives it off to Kwiatkowski. He scored from there against the Griffins last game, and he couldn't get that on target. Catholic Central did a wonderful job getting bodies and pucks to the front early in that game. I think they would be well served to try to repeat that. Icing against Grand Haven. Of course, that's no surprise. Every team is, to some degree, trying to do that, but it really seemed to be a focus for Catholic Central last Saturday. A couple of morning starts for CC, and now they get this 5 o'clock start, which is also quite rare. Usually it's 7 o'clock or later. Poked toward the front of the net by Brody Potter. Couldn't get it on target. Cracked behind the goal by Ben Wilkie of Grand Haven. Grand Haven has scored quite a few goals this year, 67 on the season. This is their 22nd game. So they're averaging over 3 per outing. Catholic Central, by contrast, has put in 48. And this is their 22nd game as well. So a shade over 2 goals for Catholic Central. Bates played it up the wall, but of course the Cougars have 3 more wins than Grand Haven does, so different ways to go about it. Catholic Central, since the holiday break, just the 1 victory, though, against Forest Hills Northern, which ended up finishing in 8th in the Roo Division. They're in this side of the bracket as a backhand save by Aaron. Turned on goal, another great save by Jacob Aaron on Ben Wilkie. Aaron flashing out the pads. Looking like pinball flippers. Kappinga's offside. Well, actually, Dozema was offside technically as Kappinga carried it in over the blue line. 11:36 to go in the first. Well, Jacob Aaron hasn't had that much work volume-wise, and the puck's been away from him for most of the period, but Grand Haven has generated 2 or 3 grade A chances, and he's turned them all aside. Junior goalie with an .892 save percentage. 4 shutouts on the year. His last shutout came against Granville in this building. Maybe a good omen. That was a 2-0 win for Catholic Central just before the new year. Driven into the zone by Braden Bates. That was on the other rink, the west rink. This is the east rink. Slightly smaller seating area, otherwise quite similar. This building that's about 20 years old. Chopped ahead by Kyler Studer. Behind the Catholic Central net, retrieving his Bates, as he often does. First to the puck, wins the race. Avery Anderson couldn't keep it in at the blue line, but he chipped it right by Cooper Moss. Puck up for grabs. Kwiatkowski will get there first on his backhand side. Kwiatkowski, left it at the side of the net. Aaron had to make a save there on the stuff try by Mark Braden. So Grand Haven looking tenacious. They're hungry to score, even though they haven't had a lot of looks. Poked right through the front of the net by Grant Wheeler, and the Cougars are content to dump it out of the zone. Wilkie, first real surge here for the Buccaneers. Keaton Poole backhands it down the wall, but lifted out again, this time by Henry Kwiatkowski, who's playing in his 95th game as a Cougar, as is Brody Potter. They're the active leaders in that category for Catholic Central. Yes, I added them up over the week. Wanted to see if we had anyone close to 100, and we do have a couple of guys. Icing against Grand Haven. So doing the math here, this is game 22. Those two would need 5 more games to get to 100. The Cougars are going to play 3 more guaranteed. So they'd have to win 1 regional game to get these guys to 100. And, of course, those two would have to stay healthy, knock on wood. The region, by the way, will be hosted by Big Rapids up on the campus of Ferris State at Wiggleman Arena. Hope I pronounced that right. I'll have to practice that before we get going in just a couple of weeks' time. 5 teams in the region, by the way. Myers behind the goal. Stripped of the puck, but right there. Oh, there is. Back on the ice, Onstad. Noah Onstad returns for Catholic Central. He's been out since the Byron Center game very early in January. So I said he was still out. No, he is not still out. He is back. I was looking for him in the warm-up, but paying more attention to Grand Haven, a team I have never seen before. So there you go. Great to see Noah back on the ice. Ends up missing about a month with that injury, and this is the easiest icing call for the linesman he's ever had. Ben Wilkie just decided to shove it down the boards, wasn't worried about giving up a defensive zone draw. So Onstad returns after missing 9 games. Sophomore D, we'll see how much he plays, but it's really going to help the effort on the blue line. Otherwise, the Cougars were just rolling 2 pairs, and that can get wearing on a team and a defense core when you're playing half the game. And that was essentially the case for the 4D available to Catholic Central, maybe even more so in the case of Bates and Kwiatkowski. They're playing special teams time too. Bates on cue, turns it away from Tyler Sparks up the far wall. Dozema whacked at it. Bates will pitchfork it behind his net. Kwiatkowski rims it around, and it went right by Julian O'Brien all the way down to our right. 8:30 left in the first period. We're halfway through the frame. Kappinga with a strong check. He knocks Anderson for a loop. Kappinga reaching out, try to get a piece there of Noonan, and he did. It's loose to Carlander out to the point for a shot by Bates that was fended off by Grebar. First save for Grebar in a while. And the Cougars have had a lot of the puck, but they have not been able to get many shots through. Grand Haven's collapsing around its goaltender effectively. A couple of players sprawled out on the ice. It's Kwiatkowski for Catholic Central and Studer for Grand Haven. They're both back up. Thrown across, dangerous pass. Heminger nearly picked it off for Catholic Central, but it does end up successfully connecting to Ben Wilkie down the wing. Wilkie, a defenseman, 5 goals, 19 points, leading all Grand Haven Blue Liners in those categories. Carlander gathers his backhand pass broken up. Grebar, that's Ben Grebar, the freshman forward. A couple of Grebars on the Buccaneers. Forward in a D, or a goaltender, Cleared around by Bates to the far wing and bouncing it on goal from the far side, and Aaron has it covered with 7:31 left in the first. Aaron and Grebar in an early battle. It's a stalemate between the netminders to this point. Other games going on today in the Tier 2 side of the tournament as Aaron makes a stick save. It hops in the air, glove down by C.J. Henke. Behind the net, trying to turn out in front, and does. Aaron makes a pad save. How about that power move from Henke, using that long reach to protect it and eventually get a shot off that had some pace to it, but right along the ice. Anyway, going on right now on the West Rink, Hudsonville, the 6th seed from the Fisher Division, is playing the Rockford Rams, the 7th seed from the Roo. Later tonight, Grand Rapids Christian in the 5 seed playing East Kentwood, the 8 seed from Fisher. And also on this rink at 7:30-ish, West Ottawa versus Forest Hills Northern and Eastern. West Ottawa was the 5th place team in the Fisher this year. Grand Haven is a co-op team. I'm reminded that because the Buccaneer logo on their shoulders has SL on his hat. SL standing for Spring Lake, of course. Nice looking logo. Love the branding for Grand Haven. Of course, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan against my better judgment, so maybe that's why. Through into the offensive zone for Keaton Poole as he tried to turn the shot toward the front, but the Cougars had that bottled up. No room to get that through to Aaron. And it's on to Cooper Moss. Ladles it down the wall. The puck rolls up on edge again. Kappinga trying to harass Noonan into a turnover. Couldn't do it. O'Brien got through Kwiatkowski at center. Got tangled up in Kwiatkowski's stick, but no penalty call. Play continues. No penalties yet in this game. Noonan to the near side and jammed out of the zone by Poole. All the way back down into Cougars real estate. This is Parker Moore. He's gotten a lot of playing time, Moore has, in the last several games since Onstad was out initially. That's how you grow as a player, getting those opportunities and coming through. Heminger left it behind, turned over. Here's Wells right to the goal. Aaron makes the save on the short breakaway, but a penalty is coming. Wells was in, oh no, it's going to be a penalty shot. Wells was interfered with from behind, and it's ruled that it hampered him to the point that couldn't do what he wanted to do, and also part of the penalty shot criteria is the player a stride ahead. Well, the referee ruled that he was, so Wells stopped on the short breakaway, but he'll get a penalty shot try now. With 5:48 to go in the first, an early pivot point in this OK Conference tournament game, and the Cougars coaches have several words of protest for the men in stripes. It was a close call, I'll say that. It wasn't your traditional breakaway because the turnover happened right at the blue line, inside the blue line, in fact. But I'd have a hard time arguing that Carter Wells wasn't a step ahead of the last defender. So, Wells with 7 goals on the season gets a chance to add on in a one-on-one showdown with Jacob Aaron. And we've got a long run up to this one. I believe this is the first penalty shot in a Cougars game this year. And here we go. Skater against goaltender. It's pure of a showdown as it gets in this sport. Wells between the circles slowly. Backhand drifted off his stick. Never got the shot away. Aaron stares him down as Wells skates back out to center. And so, no penalty put on the board. The penalty was the penalty shot, so Catholic Central gets to remain at 5-on-5 after the penalty shot was missed. Just one too many thoughts in Wells' head, I think, there. He outmaneuvered himself. Came in slowly as well, so he had something in mind, but that move to the backhand, just couldn't execute it. And it happens. Myers try to carry it into the zone for Catholic Central. O'Brien jammed it up the wall. Out it goes to center. 5.5 to go in the period. Ten Harmsel run down by Hugh Freisinger, senior forward. Energy type guy. O'Brien dishing. Freisinger coming out of his own end. Lead pass too far for Noah Noonan. Ten Harmsel will catch up to it before the icing line. Casey Ten Harmsel in some trouble. Coughed it up. It's Wells. Trying to redeem himself there, but Ten Harmsel takes it right back and shoves it up the far boards and out. Ice getting choppy in the final moments of the first period. We also had the warm-up, of course, after the Zamboni came out to refresh the surface. Bates on one leg clears it around, and now Bates takes it back from McLean. Bates on the move, gets right around Ryan Bates and shoots short side off the goal post, but the net was dislodged by the goaltender Grebar. And so, the faceoff coming up. Grebar was worried about that short side shot. So it was Bates versus Bates around the outside, and the Cougars, Bates, won that confrontation. Bates helps it over to Kwiatkowski. Whiffed on the shot, but he got it right back. Deaking, backhand chance, didn't get through. Grebar, I think, kicked his post off again. Meanwhile, the play goes the other way. Ryan Bates for Grand Haven, poking it forward, up through to the blue line, Studer, and turned it right back over to Catholic Central and Henry Kwiatkowski. One of a couple four-year players on Catholic Central. Kwiatkowski knocked it down to the Grand Haven line. Bates D-to-D, and the shoot in by Studer as he goes off for a line change. Retrieving at center, Wilkie for the re-rack for the Bucks. And Sparks' backhand softly into the near corner. Bates to it first. One hands it over to Kappinga. He delays and got it out over the blue line. So Wheeler tried to drop it back, and it's whacked into the Cougars bench eventually with 3:47 to go in the period. No penalties technically. We did have the penalty shot, but it's been all 5-on-5 play so far. Been a season of streaks for Catholic Central. They won 4 in a row very early on. They were 4-1. They won 3 in a row right around the new year. That made them 8-3 at that point. But just the one win since. Back to OK play as a snapshot from Poole goes high and wide, might have been deflected. Hoping the return to OK play can inspire Catholic Central to bigger and better things. Like I said, a lot to like in that game against M1 Griffins. It's just not going their way late in these games. Both Saginaw Heritage and the Griffins came back from multi-goal deficits against Catholic Central. Onstott keeps it in. Inside the blue line, behind the net it goes to Carlander. Overtaken though on the body check and flipped out of the zone by Henke. Quick up by Ten Harmsel to Carlander. He threw it toward the middle and it's intercepted by Carter Wells. He set sail, but Ten Harmsel defended him well. And banked off the window out through to center. Bates turned it over. McLean getting to it first. And McLean centered. A turning chance for Myers. Back over to McLean, who's looking for his first varsity point, but Caleb McLean, nice work on that shift to generate some chaos and havoc in the attacking zone. The puck skids right across the blue line and yanked out the center by Noah Noonan, but he banked it right to Kwiatkowski, who takes the available ice. Faked a slap shot. Banks it behind the goal. It horseshoes around to Braden Bates. 2:07 to go in the first. Bates trying to lift it out. He's under pressure. Kappinga ripped it away. To the point in Bates. He's got Kwiatkowski next to him. Tried to shoot it, but it was partially blocked to the corner. Stick on puck from Carter Wells. Blasted around by Catholic Central again. They try to funnel it toward the front, but not going to work that time. And bounded through center by Noah Noonan. Right in on Jacob Aaron. Uses the big goal stick to play it away to his defenseman, Henry Kwiatkowski. Up through Bates. He got a piece of it. No icing call. 1:34 left in the period. Moss gave Avery Anderson a rough ride behind the net. It's free to Kappinga. Sharp angle chance. And the save made by Grebar, and the rebound. Dozema hacking at it on Grebar's pad, and he takes some retribution from Anderson, who swings away with the glove a couple of times. 1:24 left in the first. Good chance there for the Cougars, and the benefit of a good low shot coming out of the corner from Kappinga led to a rebound opportunity. It's fun to try to beat a goalie top shelf, but a lot of times it's a better move to shoot for the pass-off pads. And there's Kwiatkowski trying to force it through, and it never got all the way through. And the puck dished back to the Cougars' end. Aaron off the boards with it. Braden tried to cruise in. Puck wouldn't behave for him. Moss takes it over the red line and over the blue. Cooper Moss tried the toe drag, but stick check by Avery Anderson. We go back the other way. Under a minute to play in the period. Kappinga slicing through the neutral zone. Isaac Kappinga, a shot. Save made by Grebar. Rebound knocked away to the corner, but Cougars testing Grebar a couple of times late stages first period. Ten Harmsel with 37 seconds. Couple of stick handles, tight quarters to squeeze that pass into. Ten Harmsel tries to rescue it. Out at center circle, Henke down the right wing. Overlapping Carter Wells, a shot from near the corner. And covered up by Jacob Aaron. 22 seconds left in the period. Well, out of Catholic Central's 9 wins on the year, 5 of them have been against OK competition. Kappinga, maybe one last chance before the period. He's pinned by Poole. They're tied up. Kappinga's stick got lodged in Poole's midsection. He forcibly pulled it out, and those two are going at it a little bit as the puck's flipped over the glass on the near side. Out of play. 5 seconds to go in the frame. Kappinga, one of the Cougars' alternate captains. Three Cougars in the slot. Will Dozema try to go to the forehand as the righty shot? He's got Kwiatkowski behind him. If he can win it, Kwiatkowski will look to get it on net quickly. Dozema tried to shoot it. It bounced back to Kwiatkowski. Big slapper off the stick of the goalie Grebar, who jumps back to his skates after his best save of the period, I would have to say. Time runs out on the first. Henry Kwiatkowski nearly connecting for his 5th of the season and his 2nd in as many games, but not to be. We'll take a break from Griff's Georgetown. 1 period in the books in the first ever OK Conference tournament game in Cougars history. It's the Grand Haven Bucks. When we come back, keep it right here on Cougar Puck Radio. Second period time from Griff's Georgetown. I neglected my reporting responsibilities. I was planning on going across the way and seeing what the score was on our other game going on right now, which is Hudsonville versus Rockford. So I'll have to check that out at the second intermission. My fault. Just love the concept of this tournament. Glad that the OK Conference and the coaches and athletic directors agreed to it. I think it adds a lot to the regular season that otherwise just feels like a long preseason at times, leading up to the regional playoffs. Everyone's guaranteed one regional game, so you almost feel like, what are we playing for here in the end? I know you're playing for pride, you're playing for your school, all those good things. You're playing for the joy, love of the game, but it's nice to have some more stakes put on the line here. As Henke tried to deflect it ahead, Kwiatkowski with a solid recovery to prevent Carter Wells from being sent away on a chance. Wells had that penalty shot attempt in the first period. That was the best scoring chance, obviously, for both sides in a 0-0 score. Hard to get much better than a penalty shot. Chasing after it goes Henke into the corner. Kwiatkowski almost bear hugs him. They're tied up in the corner, but play allowed to continue on as Kappinga couldn't flush it out with one hand on his stick, and so the battle continues in the Cougar zone. Tossed toward the front by Poole, didn't get through, and jammed away off a leg out to center by Jackson Dozema. It is say it with me now, the period of the long change, the second period, so Dozema had to sprint off to the bench to get there in time to allow a replacement to come on. Right to the front of the net, Aaron makes the save as he closes it down. Great pass to the front, spinning was Carter Wells, and it looked like, was that Braden in front who had the chance against Aaron? But Aaron got his pads together, preventing that shot from trickling through his legs, and we remain with no goals in the game with 15:39 to go in the second period. Heminger giving it a look, but that's an icing call against Catholic Central. Well, when will the levee break? Onstad and Ten Harmsel, your defense pairing. Just want to confirm, yes, Onstad did miss 9 games with that upper body injury. Suffered against Byron Center right after the new year. Almost exactly a month, in fact. Ten Harmsel wipes out his man behind the net. Onstad's been missed. Really took away from the depth of the defense corps. Of course, a familiar name for longtime Catholic Central hockey fans. Just the latest Onstad to play for the Cougars. Dish near side, Heminger whacks it ahead. Twisted off the boards by Wilkie. Back into traffic. Wilkie has it come to him again. Wheeler. The dump and chase. Doesn't work for Grand Haven as Ten Harmsel clears, just barely, over the blue line. Lifted back in by Anderson. And hastily cleared by Catholic Central. Heminger twisted it toward the middle, broken up. Here's a long skate up ahead for Anderson, right to the goal, and he was pulled down from behind. We might have a second penalty shot here. No, tripping is the call. I feel like that was more of a penalty shot than the first one was, honestly, but tripping called. Anderson driving hard to the net. I think Aaron still had to make a stop on the stuff try. And the first power play of the game goes to Grand Haven. Henry Kwiatkowski to the box. Players to watch for Grand Haven on the power play. Obviously, Henke with 15 goals. Anderson, though, from the blue line. He's out there to start. Ten Harmsel joins the party. The Cougars needed a fourth skater. Here he comes. And Henke won the faceoff, but too strongly, right between his 2 point men, Wilkie and Anderson. And nearly a shorthanded goal as Moss was first to that puck, but ripped it wide. That would have been something. Really caught me off guard, too. Definitely caught the Buccaneers off guard. Henke right to the front of the net. Chance at the side, and Poole was denied by Aaron. And the net came off its pegs, but Aaron continues to strut his stuff in this game, keeping it 0-0, 14:06 remaining in the second. Face-off controlled by Jackson Dozema. Ten Harmsel clears it around the wall. Moss helps it along. An opportunity for Dozema. He had his stick lifted, close to a hook, but play continues to the near boards. Bates delivers the body check on Braden, but the Buccaneers gain entry to the zone. And it's turned over by Bates on the near side wall and punched right to the front by Braden. Henke slugged it wide. Henke to the loose puck again. 1:12 left on the power play. Wilkie slows down the pace. Finesses it in deep from behind the net. Stuffing it out in front, or trying to, was Anderson, and he was wedged off the puck, or pardon, that was Poole rather, and cleared by Catholic Central and Braden Bates. Wilkie with a head of steam. Slices through center, handed it off. A wrist shot from Henke was blocked in front of the net. I think Carlander got that. Whacked off the wall and out by Bates. 40 seconds left on the Kwiatkowski minor penalty. Heminger chokes off the breakout at the blue line as he absorbed that attempted pass. Killed some more time for Catholic Central. Henke's still out there on this power play. Long shift for him. Wilkie charges down the wall, and he fired it right through the slot. No one home for the Buccaneers. From the far boards, Wells. Stick handles toward the middle. Stick checked beautifully by Carlander. Wells try to whack it along. It's on back for Henke. To the point. Anderson shot didn't get through. Rejected again in front. Parker Moore, Noah Onstadt setting up the picket fence. Snapshot from the point right into the glove of Aaron from Kyler Studer. And the power play is over for Grand Haven. Eventful power play. Both teams had opportunities, in fact. But Grand Haven played a lot in the Cougars' end, as you might expect. Just shy of 6 o'clock on this Wednesday night. It was odd being at a rink on a Tuesday, I'll say that, yesterday for East Grand Rapids' 3-2 win against Jenison in overtime. Wrister from Bates missed the goal. That's Ryan Bates of Grand Haven. Snapper from O'Brien, near side boards, and blockered away by Aaron. Aaron rambles back behind his net to touch it along. And it's Moore bypassing his intended receiver on that pass, as it was the high hard one, and it's an icing call against Catholic Central. Last night, Jenison came back from a 2-0 deficit to force OT against the Pioneers before James Albers scored his second of the game on an overtime power play to win it. I mentioned Granville won an overtime as well. The two late games were dramatic. The two early games were not. Byron Center wiped out Reith's Puffer 9-1 to advance to the semis on Friday here. This in the Tier 1 side of the competition. Top 4 seeds in each division. And also Caledonia with a 4-0 blanking of Mona Shores. So it'll be East Grand Rapids versus Caledonia on Friday in one semifinal, and Granville against Byron Center in the other. About to find out who's going to be in the semis on Friday for Tier 2, and the puck up into the screen. Some fans on the near side reacted to it, but that netting is there for your protection, folks. Avery Anderson tried to distribute a souvenir. But anyway, the Friday semis in this bracket will be Friday at Southside. Catholic Central guaranteed to play at 7:30. If they win, it'll be on the blue rink, their home rink. If they lose, it'll be on the green rink. Snapper off the outside of the goal frame from Bates, 55 feet away. Wheeler gave it away to Braden Bates. Knifing to the outside, wrist shot, hit the crossbar and dropped right down, wrap around, and he couldn't stuff it in against Grebar. And the Buccaneers are away. Wheeler accelerating through center. He zings the puck below the goal line. Turning it out of the corner, Wilkie couldn't get it to the front. Good defense by Catholic Central again. Cohen Potter hightailing it through the neutral zone. His snapper was deflected off the rink over the high glass. So how this tournament works is it's not really a winner's bracket, loser's bracket situation. You have to win your first round game or you're not going to win the tournament. So there's no second chance. But there will be further games regardless of whether you win or lose. Moore snapping it on goal, and again, a glove save by Grebar. Parker Moore changing the angle, got the puck through. From the near side circle, the senior alternate captain, Brody Potter, gets the call. It was fun watching him react to his younger brother's goal. Myers, he nearly had a chance as the puck fell to him just below the faceoff dot, but he couldn't get the shot off. Wheeler colliding with Moore. Big battle for the puck. Myers poked it toward the middle, and it's free to be taken to the sidewall by Braden. Couldn't get it out. Couldn't get it out past McLean, who bottled it up. Potter distributes it right to the front of the net, and it's off the pad of Grebar, and he hangs on. Less than 2 weeks until the regional tournament begins up in Big Rapids. I mentioned we have 5 teams in the region. Catholic Central, East Grand Rapids Christian, as Moss is stymied, trying to get the shot off. Bates steps into one, and that's off a body in front. I don't think it got through to Grebar, and it caroms to the far corner. Kappinga out high, covering up for Kwiatkowski. Skips the pass across to Bates. Tries to sting one on net, but that's blocked. Also, Big Rapids, the Lakeshore Badgers will be in that region. So 5 teams for 1 spot coming out of that region, which means 2 teams will have to play a quarterfinal game, likely on that Monday, up in Big Rapids. Monday the 17th, that is. Dozema recovers the puck, angles it. Kwiatkowski, head and shoulders fake. Dished it on over to Bates. Cross-rink delivery, no one there on the far half wall. And so it's scooped up by Wells, and he does clear it 5 feet over the blue line. 9:23 left in the second period. No goals in this game. Grand Haven's O'Brien pushing it down the boards. Here he is, and his flick shot over the crossbar. Wilkie kept it alive in the attacking end. Loose in the middle. Hankey couldn't reach out to get it, even with that long stick. Bates headmans it. Heminger down the near boards, getting the handoff from Cohen Potter. Heminger giving up a few inches to Hankey, but it's quite the fight for the loose puck. Onstadt keeps it in at the blue line on his backhand side, niftily, but only momentarily. Hankey whacks it the length, and that's icing against the Bucks. Last year's Grand Haven squad was 8-17, but they did return, counting them up, 10 skaters from last year's squad, make it 11, including 2 of their top scorers, and Hankey, well, 3 of their top scorers. Hankey, Anderson, and Wilkie were all in the top 5 point getters for the Buccaneers last year. It's more about goal prevention that's been the issue for Grand Haven this season. They've allowed 73 goals. In contrast, the Cougars have allowed 64. Potter yanks it ahead. Potter's wrister into the glove of Grebar, and no further play. Both goalies for Grand Haven have save percentages under 900. Grebar 880. Colton Rogers, the senior, 891. Just a 1-year win on the year, for Grebar. Snap shot from Ken Harmsel, deflected off the rink. He's 1-8-1 on the season. Colton Rogers 5-5-2, but Coach Scott Compton goes to Grebar in this game. And honestly, he looked quite solid. Turned on net by Kappinga, and again a save from Grebar. Back with it, Studer to the middle, a shot, and sharply gloved by Aaron. And he'll hang on with 8:10 remaining in the period. Tendy's reign supreme so far. here at Griff's Georgetown in the Cougars OK Conference Tournament opener. Drop of the puck, and here we go again. Bang deep by O'Brien. Around the wood, off the kick plate, ripped by Bates. Lifted ahead, Carlander with some teammates with him, but he took the shot himself. And again, frozen by Grebar. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of game so far. These offenses, it's been mostly about territory, but now they're starting to get more shots through. Carlander on the faceoff from the left circle. Heminger helps it back to the point. 10 Harmsel lofts it below the goal line. On it, Cohen Potter. Skating well, dropped it off, but taken away. Ben Grebar, long breakaway, in on Aaron, shoots it over the net. We remain at 0-0. 2 missed breakaways in this game for Grand Haven. Turning back, Noah Noonan, away from the pressure of 10 Harmsel. Yeah, Potter left that puck, but 10 Harmsel had already vacated the point. That's what led to the breakaway. And Grebar had thoughts of going bar down. Couldn't convert. Pass up the middle, dangerous one. Carlander got a piece of it. Onstadt steps up. No Onstadt, first game back after missing 9. Heminger, and he spun it deep from the red line. No icing. O'Brien taking, run off by Moss. Strong check. Puck available. Heminger protecting on his backhand side. Angles it back. Tough puck, but Bates handled it well. And he rifles it near corner. It comes to Dozema, but his shot partially fanned. Dozema retrieves it, though. And again to Bates at the point. Changes the angle. Attempted pass was blocked by Studer. Came right back to him again. Bates' third attempt, and that one didn't get through either. Studer dishes it down, and he's got to go off for a line change. So do all of his teammates. Well, all but one. One stayed back. Bates taking advantage of that room. Left it. Dozema shot. Save Grebar. And nothing further with 6:19 left in the second. The Cougars almost caught the Bucks in a bad change, but Grebar holds the line. To the near wall, Potter controls his own draw. Bouncing pass, Moore, is it in the zone? It is, as he drifts a shot that was redirected wide. To the corner and Myers. He and Potter jam at it. Tip back to the point. 10 Harmsel right on line with that rip shot. And again, Grebar proves to be sound on the rebound control. Not a lot of rebounds available for Catholic Central tonight, at least not so far. They'll try to win that war of attrition maybe. Ryan Bates, Ben Wilkie. Back to Ryan Bates, who blasts McLean with a clean check. Moore sneaks it through the neutral zone to Myers. Try to kick it to his stick, didn't work. In front of the Cougars bench, they scrum with 5.5 to go in a stop-and-go second period. The goalies have ended many a play with a puck in their gloves, especially John Grebar, or Grebar rather. Carlander dumped at center, but he keeps on fighting, and he forces the puck back into Grand Haven territory. Bates a one-touch to the far side. Carlander interrupted it again. Carson Carlander trying to just get in the way, and he does. Takes it away from Bates and Sparks in the corner. Now Sparks gloves the loose puck, and his backhand clearance at least makes it to center. Under 5 to play in the second period. Moore's vertical pass intercepted, but iced by Wilkie of Grand Haven. And we'll face it off in Buccaneers real estate again. Thanks for watching on Cougar Puck Radio. We appreciate your viewership. Make sure to like and subscribe and also sign up for notifications whenever we go live. Next game is going to be a challenge, as I'll be here for the East Grand Rapids game at 5. Catholic Central will play at 7:30, scheduled to play 7:30 on Friday. Capping he couldn't complete the one last move he had in mind to try to get all the way to the net, and one of the Buccaneers is sent down on his backside, and that's a penalty against Catholic Central, unfortunately. Power play coming up for Grand Haven. Time of the penalty, 4:21 of the second period. Didn't catch the number, I will in a moment. Bates, a sharp clear to start things on the penalty kill. Capping forces the quick pass. So it's McLean for a hook. Capping tried to push it to the front for Dozema. Didn't get through. Second power play for Grand Haven. They also had the penalty shot back in the first that was not converted. Offside against the Buccaneers. No power plays yet for Catholic Central. Catholic Central Cougars hockey brought to you this season by Chrisback Incorporated, Western Telecom, Spartan Graphics, Fox Motors, Wimstat Building Materials, Byrne Tool and Design, and Moore & Sons Roofing. Thank you for your support. Bates goes right up the middle with it. Great idea, as the Buccaneers were betting he was going to the boards with that. And he outwiled him. Did Bates, senior co-captain. The pass was in the skates of Henke. Couldn't handle it at center ice and driven right on goal by Kwiatkowski. Stick save by Grebar. Grand Haven having a hard time getting out of their end. Anderson giving the puck up. Henke, a cut-in move, but again, Carlander this time tenacious. Forechecking, taking it away, whipped it to the far wall, and Henke grabbed it right back. And Potter's having a hard time getting back. He looks like he's struggling. Maybe some sort of a limp going on for Brody Potter. He's got to get back to that bench as it's cleared again by Kwiatkowski. 36 seconds remaining on the power play for Grand Haven. Wilkie roaring in. Left it back. Turned over. Myers tried to cut up ice, and no penalty called there. I thought he got his skate taken out, but the referees rule he just lost his edge. Capping bangs bodies with Wells, and he gave it off to Kwiatkowski, who gunned it out of the zone. That might do it for the power play. Just a dozen seconds to go on it for the Bucks. 2:32 left in the second period. We're still in search of our first goal of the night. Noonan tried to wrist it. That was rejected. Again, Kwiatkowski doing fantastic work on this penalty kill. The penalty is over. And it's Moss who was in the box, not McLean. Cooper Moss escapes. The Cougars back to work on the attack, hopefully. Moss's lead delivery was not deflected, and it was untouched by either side, icing against Catholic Central. Yeah, a little different from the last game for Catholic Central. It was 3-3 at this point against the M1 United Griffins. The Cougars, though, have played in their share of shutout games this year, both on the winning and the losing side. They have shut out opponents 4 times. They themselves have been blanked 4 times. So 8 times total in 21 games. Someone has finished with a 0 on the scoreboard next to their name. And we're at that stage for both teams late in the second period. Bates trying to run the gauntlet. He hacks and whacks it down the wall. Got it into the attacking zone. Now he pins Ten Harmsel. The Zamboni is warming up. You can see it there behind the glass. Ten Harmsel clears. Skied over to Bates of Grand Haven. And worked ahead by Mark Braden. Back to the corner. Noonan rounding the goal, or trying to. Onstadt smothered him, and the puck is pinned down by Aaron at the side of his goal with 1:21 left in the period. The Buccaneers are coming off of an 8-0 win against East Kentwood, Mercy Rule. EK just the one win on the season this year. It was looking like that was going to be the opponent for the Cougars as Aaron makes a stick save. But Catholic Central got edged out at the end of the season by Christian by a single point for the 5th spot. Turned over, lead pass, Wells going head-to-head against Braden Bates, and Bates wins the duel, under a minute to go, and Wells got a stick under Bates's cage, and they continue to joust back to our right as the puck is flicked down to our left. They disconnect. Bates, though, slams Poole, forces the turnover. Moss over the line, and his sweep shot was redirected up into the air into the near corner. Backhand by Poole, out to center it goes. Wells tried to center it, never got through to Henke, who was briefly flashing open. 28 seconds remaining in the period. Bates sending it ahead. Too far, too hard for McLean. Latched onto by Avery Anderson. He reverses it along the boards. Rimmed over to Keaton Poole to the middle. Coughed it up McLean, and he, I think, faked himself out there. He was looking at a shot, and then all of a sudden maybe considered the pass, and the Buccaneers break that up, and down they go into Cougars territory. Oh my, Myers went spinning around on a hard hit in the corner from Braden. Puck up for grabs. Time runs out in the second period, and we remain goalless in Georgetown. Has a certain ring to it, doesn't it? We've got the third period coming up. Who knows? We might have more coming up. Hey, there's 4-on-4 overtime if we do get through 3 periods. Special rule for the conference tournament. Just throwing that out there. I saw it last night as well for East Grand Rapids and for Granville. They both came out on top in overtime. Still a ways to go for that yet, but I'm just saying we're trending in that direction. Through 2, 34 minutes in the books, and the goaltenders, Jacob Aaron and John Grebar, continue to be dominant. We'll be back for the third period and maybe more from the East Rink at Griff's Georgetown in just a moment on Cougar Puck Radio. Here we go, third period. On tap from Griff's Georgetown. I'm Matt Gajtka. This is Cougar Puck Radio. Catholic Central will return home to Southside on Friday for Game 2 of the Tier 2 OK Conference Tournament. But will it be on their home rink? It will if they win this game. If they lose this game, it'll be on the green rink. They don't want to play there. Why would you want to play over there? I have switched the microphone on my headset from the left side, which I am very used to the right side. Just trying to change the mojo here in the third period. Let's get something going. Let's have a strong close. We'll see what the Cougars have in store for us here tonight as we start the third with an icing against Grand Haven. Yeah, this is really strange for me to have the mic on the right side of my face. I can't describe to you. Hopefully I can still speak English by the end of the game. By the way, the other game, a shocker in terms of the margin. Bates risks it off the faceoff win for the Cougars. Missed the goal. It clangs off the glass. That unmistakable sound only hockey players and fans would know. Wells couldn't maneuver toward the middle against the Cougars' defense. I'll stop holding you in suspense. Rockford leads 6-0 over Hudsonville on the other rink through 2 periods. So Rockford will advance. They'll play the winner of Christian and East Kentwood, which will, in all likelihood, be Grand Rapids Christian. It'll be at 5 o'clock on the blue rink on Friday at Southside Ice Arena. Turn in front of the net, and it rattles around to the near side. Wells, it's been quite evident in this game. He's continuing to grind away. Had that earlier missed penalty shot, but he's been all over the puck in the offensive zone. On the top line, Henke took the pass, but it was an offside pass. And the faceoff will come back into the neutral zone. 15:51 to go in the third. Winner of this game will play the winner of West Ottawa and Forest Hills Northern and Eastern. 7:30 on the blue rink on Friday. Ten Harmsel whips it across to Noah Onstadt, and Onstadt clears. Through by Heminger to Cohen Potter. The Cougars had something there in terms of numbers. Grand Haven got a little discombobulated, but they couldn't string that pass together to get going on the rush. Carlander halts the D-to-D pass, though, behind the goal. To the far board, Stuber back to his defenseman Wilkie. Can he lift it out? He can't. Kept just barely by Onstadt. Turns it back against the grain to Carlander, but it's poked off his stick by Wilkie. The Buccaneers break back. Lifted into the zone by Studer. Behind the net, Casey Ten Harmsel surrounds it, feeds it, right past his intended receiver, but it does bounce to center. However, the Buccaneers shunt it right back in. Onstadt looks up. His headman pass deflected into the air, whacked out of the air by Keaton Poole. Some neutral zone tennis being played for a moment. Wells again intercepts. For Grand Haven, leans in against Ten Harmsel. Wells spins off that check. To the point, faking it Wilkie. Down the wall he goes. Wilkie's backhand right to the front. And shoved wide by Poole. Backhand again in front by Poole. Aaron holds it down and gets the stoppage. 14:30 left in the third. Well, I've called one 0-0 game this year. That was between Grand Rapids Christian and East. Coming out of the holiday break. This one can't end scoreless, guaranteed. Snapper by Anderson and gobbled up by Aaron once again. We need a winner tonight. We will get a winner. I mentioned overtime will be 4-on-4 if we get that far. Of course, it's sudden death. It will be an 8-minute period, just like it is in any other regular season game. But this one's a little different. Wells takes it away for Grand Haven right to the front of the net. Poke checked at the last second. I think Dozema got the magic wand in there to knock it off his blade. Rifled ahead by Poole. Down it goes into Cougars territory again. Braden Bates helps it along the wall. It's rimmed over to Kappinga. Couldn't whack it out, but it bounces right back to Kwiatkowski. Jammed in deep by Grant Wheeler of Grand Haven. Kapinga has some room. Stick handling ahead, but he was stymied by Anderson at the blue line. Dozema pulls it back for Catholic Central. Trying to get around the corner against O'Brien. Puck free behind the net. Anderson bunts it over in Moss's direction. Cooper Moss, 14 goals on the year. Ten Harmsel wristing, deflected down and wide. We'll see if maybe Cooper Moss has something up his sleeve here. And there he is on cue, right on the puck. Putting his nose on top of it, but can't make anything happen offensively. The Buccaneers ice it again. One thing Catholic Central has done well in this game defensively is keep the Buccaneers from getting any kind of speed through the neutral zone. The Bucs' breakouts have been pretty much non-existent. And the Cougars have played with good structure all year. Just occasionally they have worn down, and I think a lot of that has to do with some of the players they've been missing. Moore changes the angle and rips it on net. Blocker save by John Grebar, and the puck is cleared by the Buccaneers. Ahead Wheeler. He funnels it behind the Cougars' goal. It spins around to the near boards. McLean up the middle with that pass, picked off by Wilkie. Hammers it ahead once again. The Bucs going in on the forecheck. Until they'd love to just get the puck in deep and go in after it. They're a heavy forechecking team. Freisinger couldn't force the turnover. Myers, a little hesitation move helped him get out and get to the neutral zone, but his pass for McLean did not connect. 12:30 left in regulation time. Pushed to the middle by Poole of Grand Haven, but it's back into the clutches of Ryan Bates, who turns around and banks it to center. Kwiatkowski saucers it off the far side glass. From the corner, it bounds behind the net. Wilkie around on the feed to Bates. Bates looks up and rifles the puck all the way down 200 feet. Tried to connect at center with Mark Braden. Didn't work out. Another icing against the Bucs. No penalties called against Grand Haven in this game. The Cougars have been whistled twice, plus the penalty shot that was awarded to Grand Haven. Of course, none of those led to any tangible offense for the Buccaneers. O'Brien hooks it back. Off the body of Henke at center. Pummeled right back in by Catholic Central. Potter first on the forward check, but it's worked away from him. Long lead pass taken on the backhand side by Henke. Couldn't receive it cleanly, so he's got to go after it in the corner. Up the near wall, kicking it down the wood, Anderson to center, and shot right back in on the delayed offside by Poole. Onstad takes it back, skates right at a Buccaneer forward checker and ends up turning it over. Snapshot from Henke, missed the net. From the corner, centering pass by Noonan, looking for Henke. Henke has it, and he lets the shot go off Kwiatkowski's shin pad and into the corner. Henke back to the biscuit. Far boards. Dished away from him. O'Brien pinning it to that yellow kick plate. Henke's wrist shot. Hit a body. Karams to the near side wall. Grand Haven changing behind the play. Trying to get fresh bodies out there to continue this offensive zone pressure. Noonan. Joust with Onstad. Cougars get the clear on the jam around and out by Kwiatkowski. 10:44 left in the third. Icing against Catholic Central. Players warming up for the next game. Looks like that's Grand Rapids Christian in the Columbia blue. Know that color anywhere. My wife's got a few pieces of apparel. Columbia blue and black. Interesting combination, I'll say that, for Grand Rapids Christian, her alma mater. Out with it, Moss. Three-man rush for the Cougars. Ten Harmsel's behind him. Kapinga goes right to the goal. He's pinned to the crossbar, and what of this? Was the net knocked off? I think it was. Kapinga was pushed into the net. Yeah, I feel like the net's knocked off by a Buccaneer pushing Kapinga into it, then could easily be an interference call. But they're saying it was Kapinga's responsibility because they're pulling the faceoff out into neutral ice. Moss nudges it ahead, but it's poked right back to the red line. Moore couldn't get around his checker, Studer, but Dozema follows on behind the net, wrapped it out in front, and tapped away by Wells. Tries to clear, couldn't get it by. Onslaught at the point. Dozema swoops in. Jackson Dozema, and Bates said no sail. He closed down that far side board, but it deflects over to Moss. His shot toward the middle on the rebound and whacked away by Grand Haven all the way down on the somewhat fresh ice. It'll skid behind the icing line to get another offensive zone draw for Catholic Central with 9:45 remaining in the third. Moss has 14 goals on the year for Catholic Central. The next closest man has 7. That's Kappinga. And then a whole bunch in that area. Kappinga with 7. Bates with 6. And here is Braden Bates flicking it up into the air. Carlander and Dozema have 5 each. Shot saved by Grebar on the chance from the outside by Brody Potter. Potter's looking for his first goal of the year. Wouldn't be a bad time for the senior to get on the sheet in that way. Grebar stick handles on the dump in from McLean. And what's wrong here? Referee blew the play dead. I think the net is dislodged again. Tends to happen at this rink a lot. I don't know why. And it's both rinks. Both sides of this building, they have issues with the net popping off its moorings. There's also a broken stick that was returned to the Catholic Central bench. We've taken care of that. Another neutral zone draw. Brody Potter with Brendan Myers and Caleb McLean. Myers trying to get past the defenseman O'Brien, who was just subtly interfering with him to prevent the forecheck from starting. Turned over there to Kwiatkowski. His shot hit his own man, Potter, I think in the leg. Potter sprints off to the bench. Kwiatkowski just barely unable to keep that puck in on the blue line. Valiant effort. He drives it ahead, though. The Cougars tag up. They're after it again legally. Carlander, left-handed shot. Made the pass out to Kwiatkowski. He hammers it again. He's just slapping it with impunity tonight. Couldn't get that one through. Bates' pass back door. He had Carlander open, but it was deflected just barely away from Carson Carlander's wheelhouse. Cohen Potter takes possession. The sophomore chips it to himself. Whacked out of the air. Glove down by Braden, but right to a Cougar, so no infraction against Grand Haven. 8:17 remaining in the third. We're getting to the point where it might just be the one goal we're looking at in this game. Icing against Grand Haven. And we'll do it again at the face-off circle down to our right. I mentioned that regionals are coming up in 2 weeks. There's also a regular season game left on Valentine's night. Not this Friday coming up, but next Friday. For Catholic Central, they'll host Caledonia, who ended up number 3 seed in the Rue Division. Bouncing puck on the deflection toward the front after Casey Ten Harmsel let the shot go. Tucked back by Grand Haven to Wilkie. Up the near wall. And guess what? Icing again against the Buccaneers. Well, we see it a lot in high school hockey. Teams that just are unafraid to simply ice the puck over and over again when they're in trouble. Can Catholic Central make them pay with a face-off win maybe and some offense instantly generated? Dozema obliges, and it's Braden Bates. Whips the shot on net. Blocker save. Grebar looks over his shoulder. The Cougars go to work below the goal line. Bates changes the angle. Another shot, pad save. Rebound loose. Grebar, and the whistle sounds. That puck was still free, and it remained free. That was a quick whistle to benefit John Grebar and the Buccaneers. But Catholic Central successfully creating offense off the faceoff. Dozema gets the call again between Kappinga and Moss. The Cougars' highest scoring line on the year. This time, the Buccaneers control, but not for long. Dozema gets to it in the corner. Wilkie. Can he escape for Grand Haven? He passes the buck on to Bates. Bates up the far wing to Wheeler, and the Bucks are free to center. Pummeled back ahead by Braden Bates. In deep, 7:22 to go in the third. Ryan Bates for Grand Haven. And it's coughed up eventually. Kwiatkowski bottles in the Bucks breakout again. Nearing the final 7 of regulation. Noonan pushed it through Kwiatkowski, but Kwiatkowski eventually controlled it. That puck went off the back of the helmet of one of the linesmen. He appears to be okay. Just stunned for a moment. Shook his head. Kappinga redirects it forward. Bates handing, Henke. And the Buccaneers are free out to center, but a turning pass by Noonan, errant, right into the clutches of Kwiatkowski. Bates threw it up the middle. Open man Carlander. Could be something here for Catholic Central. Cohen Potter to the outside, but he's poke checked by Avery Anderson. He's been good in this game. Not just a high-scoring defenseman, but a good defenseman all around, I reckon, from what I've seen tonight. Anderson tries to join the rush, and he ran right into the linesman. He's taking the punishment right now as the man in stripes. Cohen Potter tries to take advantage, and his high shot is snapped up by Grebar. Well, that was an interesting sequence. Sometimes there's just not enough room out there. And despite your best efforts, you can get caught in the way as a Lions person. I do appreciate, though, the fact that Michigan high school hockey seems to require 4 officials on the ice. It's not the case in a lot of states. As I mentioned, my native Pennsylvania, not the case there. Just 2 in most high school varsity games. Onstadt skipped it toward the front, headed off at the pass, though, and the Buccaneers clear. Myers tried to just charge over the blue line with it, and he was held up, and that's offside. The Cougars on the re-entry. Well, what's it going to take tonight to get one behind one of these goalies? Catholic Central has had more of the puck again in this third period. It reminds me of the first, where they've controlled territory, if not necessarily the vast majority of the scoring chances. The faceoff skitters back to Ryan Bates. Banks it up the wall. Ten Harmsel is there. And again, Catholic Central tries once more. Brody Potter lofted it off the glove of Ben Wilkie. Wilkie played it behind his back to Bates. And on the near wing, Studer with some room. But he flipped that right over the glass. And that's a souvenir for one of those Grand Rapids Christian players. He'll give it right back. Oh, that's the goalie, Braden Malin. Had one of the best goaltending performances I've seen in Michigan high school hockey earlier this year in that aforementioned 0-0 game with East Grand Rapids. He made 50-plus saves in 3 full periods, plus the overtime. I don't think either of these goalies are going to get to that point, volume-wise, in this game. Not to denigrate either performance. Grebar pushes it away, but behind the net it's taken by Carlander, centered it, and Moss had his stick lifted at the last second. That close to a 1-0 game for Catholic Central. Poole drives down the far wall for Grand Haven. He crunches his man to the boards. That's Kwiatkowski. Turned over out in front. Poole had an opportunity, but he missed the net as he swept it all in one motion, stepping out from behind the net. 5 even. 5 minutes to go in the third. Bates does a pirouette behind his net. That creates some time and space for him. He's so good at that, just giving himself an extra look up ice to allow his forwards to change their routes. So invaluable. I was just talking about that with someone between periods. Both Kwiatkowski and Bates are great at that. And it's not something you need to take for granted or should ever take for granted. Not that it's a one-man breakout, but it can be if you need it. And if you can beat at least one man with your skating, that gives you an advantage down ice. It's just simple math. Noonan in over the blue for Grand Haven. Lost it to that man again, Bates. Potter avoided the check from Ryan Bates, and Cohen Potter clears. Braden streaking through center. He wristed it right into the glove of Aaron, and Aaron didn't like his options, so he keeps with 4:06 left in the third. Thanks again to Ben Kappinga for running the camera tonight and most nights over the course of the 2024-25 season. So we're at game 22. It's been a busy new year, I know that much. Moore in some trouble. Can he get it out? He can. Right through the snow in front of the Cougars bench. Heminger was there to help it out if it didn't make it. Casey Ten Harmsel back for it. No icing this time against Grand Haven. Oh, he turned it right into pressure as Braden forces the turnover. Up for grabs and whacked out of the zone by the Cougars. 3.5 left in the third. Up the middle it goes. Oh, Cohen Potter nearly intercepted it at the offensive blue line. Instead, it's scooped up by Braden. Its backhand came from behind the red line, though. Another icing against the Bucks. That's one of those where they weren't trying to ice it, but they did anyway. Have to imagine Rockford is about set to wrap up their game against Hudsonville. So Hudsonville, the 6th seed in the Fisher division, will go to the losers side of the bracket. They'll play on the green rink on Friday at Southside at 5 o'clock. To the point, Bates, and a beautiful deke just on the blue line. Bates again, this time dispossessed by Poole, who's been a demon on the forecheck at times tonight. Dozema turns it up the far wall, absorbs a check from Ryan Bates. Cappinga just couldn't reach out to get there in time, but Moss will have it. Moss from the corner. Cooper Moss tried to center, and that's off a couple of skates. 2 Buccaneers converged on him. Dozema flushes it with one hand on his stick over to Cappinga. He's tied up with Ryan Bates. Got his stick free, had to choke down on it like a golfer, but couldn't make the play. And Cappinga to the puck at center, and a penalty. Penalty called, and I think it's against Grand Rapids Catholic Central. And that'll send the Grand Haven Bucks to the power play for the 3rd time. Dozema, 2 for tripping. 2:46 to go in the third, and the penalty kill is going to have to come up massive for the Cougars. Overtime looms, but now some work to do, a lot of work to do for Catholic Central. To the point, Wilkie handed it on over. Anderson shot, didn't get through, and cleared all in one motion by Bates. Grebar hands it off. 3rd power play for Grand Haven. The Cougars have done well to control that Grand Haven breakout on the power play tonight. Not this time, though. The shot from Wilkie clangs off the glove of Aaron behind the net. Taken on by Henke, back for a one-timer by Anderson that just missed the top right corner, and it hops off the top of the dasher and up into the netting. That was a weird one. Offensive zone face-off coming up for the Buccaneers. Anderson looking for goal number 11 on the year, and he was a couple of inches away. Henke, Braden, and Poole are the forwards for Grand Haven. Anderson playing the point, along with Wilkie. Heminger rips it away for Catholic Central and backhands the clearance 200 feet down. 2:05 to go in the third. 1:18 remaining on the power play. Dozema in the box, so the Cougars are missing a key face-off man for them. Long pass rink wide. Good delivery. Dish to the back door by Anderson. Skip right past the post. Henke to it. Out of the corner. Kwiatkowski. Henke extracts the puck away from Braden Bates. Sped it back to the point for Anderson. Clears it across. Wrist shot from Wilkie. Blocked out high, but the Cougars can't clear as Bates tries to fight off the checking of Poole. Poole ties him up. 47 seconds to go on the power play. Henke to the point. Anderson. Still no shots on the power play. And a penalty coming up. A penalty against Grand Haven, and a little slash on top of it from Keaton Poole onto the leg of Bates. Bates is pretty good at getting people's blood boiling. I've noticed that over the years. This is 3rd varsity season. And that'll even things up. Roughing the call. First penalty of the game against Grand Haven with 1:28 left. Keaton Poole takes it, and that leads to some 4-on-4 before the 4-on-4, which will occur in overtime if we get that far. 42 seconds worth of 4-on-4. Then Catholic Central will have a power play on the backside of it. And the face-off win cleanly. Back to Bates from Cappinga. Bates' shot, and seen all the way by Grebar. He handles and holds with 1:21 left in the third. So the intensity amps up a little bit extra with a couple of players off the ice. One for either side. Should be extra room for the team on the attack. Will be extra room for the team on the attack, but can they take advantage of it? Capping his pass back, intercepted by Wells, who read the play well, but he couldn't get it out. Kwiatkowski fires toward net, bunted away, off the blocker by Grebar to the far boards. The Cougars' top goal man, Cooper Moss. He's got 14 on the year to match his jersey number. 1 minute to go in the third period. Capping reaching out. Kwiatkowski steps up. Bates holds it in. Softly backhands to the corner. Moss to it. 50 seconds left. Bates, good pass across. Kwiatkowski walks into it and shoots. Blocked by the fallen Wilkie and deflected to the far side and poked but not out. Bates kept it alive. Braden Bates got tripped a little bit, threw it through the crease. Wide of Dozema, who's out of the box. Power play on for the Cougars. Wrist shot by Kwiatkowski. Struck the outside of the goal. Bates' shot deflected off the glass. What a sequence. The Cougars keep the puck. Final 30 seconds of regulation. Kwiatkowski dragging. There's a stick on the ice. He shoots. Deflected just wide of the net. I don't know who got a piece of that. Might have been a Buccaneer. Might have been a Cougar. And ripped around the boards and out. It's no icing because, of course, the Cougars are on the power play. I think they forgot about that. So Kwiatkowski has to parade back for it. Long lead pass. Finds Bates over the line. Chipped it into the near corner. Looks like we're going to overtime, and we will make it to the end of regulation with no goals on the board. But Catholic Central still with 33 seconds of power play time with which they'll start overtime. It'll be a 4-on-3. Keep it right here. Short break, and we'll come right back. Don't you dare leave now. Cougars 0, Buccaneers 0. Overtime on the way from Griff's Georgetown. They're playing the main theme from Top Gun over the PA right now. I'm getting fired up. Who's the Cougars' Top Gun tonight? Where's Iceman? Where's Maverick? Where's Goose? That reference is not as dated as it used to be since they had the second Top Gun movie came out a couple of years ago, which I still haven't seen. I'll have to correct that at some point. Life as a parent of small children, you don't get a chance to watch movies too much. I'm going to have some catching up to do in a few years. Catholic Central with a 4-on-3 power play. And we're going to have to kill the Top Gun eventually here. The drop of the puck, here we go. Only 30 seconds to go on it, but Moss has the easy entry down the left wing. Moss looking up. The Cougars trying to advance in the Tier 2 OK tournament. Need a goal here, though, in overtime. Kwiatkowski to the middle. Bates had his stick lifted at the last second by Henke. Bates pulls away from Henke. Good skating. He's open. He twists back toward the blue line. Kwiatkowski loads up, fire. Save made by Grebar. Hops off his chest and just barely nudged out over the blue line by Wilkie. Kwiatkowski, rink wide, over to Bates. Wrist shot blocked, and the penalized player Poole is back on the ice. We're back to 4-on-4. So the Cougars' lone power play of the night goes by without a goal. No icing on the deflection. We'll play 4-on-4 the rest of the way in overtime, barring any further penalties. Dozema took a strong bump from Poole. Next goal wins it. And the winner will face the winner of the next game on this rink, which is Grand Rapids Christian versus West Ottawa. Hack down the boards. Or excuse me, it'll be Forest Hills Northern and Eastern versus West Ottawa coming up next on this rink. That'll be the other side of this segment of the bracket. Carlander takes the turnover from Ryan Bates. He's got a couple of men with him, including Kappinga. Gives it to him. Kappinga shooting low. Patted out by Grebar. Kappinga to the rebound, though. He's got Onstad in the middle calling for it. Instead, Kwiatkowski lets the shot rip, and that's off the glass. Might have been deflected. Kwiatkowski's been close a couple of times tonight. That young man can shoot the puck, too. Feels like a matter of time if he continues to get chances, but he'll have to skate back for this. Hustling to it, surrounding it. And scoots a pass to Cade Heminger coming off the bench. 6:13 left in overtime. Punched by the attacking blue line, and here comes Ben Wilkie for Grand Haven. Drag move, and Noah Onstad. Stick on puck to poke it away. Out with it from behind comes Kwiatkowski. He's played basically half this game, maybe more. But his lead bank pass eludes the stick of Heminger, and the Cougars are guilty of icing this time with 5:53 remaining in overtime. I called an overtime result last night on the West Rink as East Grand Rapids won on an early overtime power play. They beat Jenison 3-2 to advance in a game that was closer than expected. Having not seen Grand Haven this year, I did not know what to expect from this one. Bates played it softly to the far side for Catholic Central. Stepping up, Julian O'Brien for Grand Haven. Behind the net, though, Bates recovers. And on the reset, the Cougars throw it back to Ten Harmsel. Casey Ten Harmsel bounces it wide of the net from center ice and frozen by Grebar at the side of his goal. And the ice is choppy. No resurfacing after the third. We just took that quick 2-minute break. I think we might be looking at a shootout if we go beyond the overtime. It's actually not in the tournament rules. I don't know if they're just expecting that someone's going to score 4-on-4 after 8 minutes of it. Kwiatkowski right on net. Grebar did not react to that very well until it was right on top of him, but fortunately for him, it was right off his pad. Carlander and Kwiatkowski both tie up. Kwiatkowski got smashed away from the puck. The Cougars wanted an interference call. They didn't get it. Kappinga threw it across Bates. One-timer. Good save, Grebar, and he kicked the post off. Great pass from Kappinga. Bates had that stick cocked and loaded, and he let the shot go. Boy, did he ever. He hammered that on net. We've seen Bates score on a one-timer a couple of times this year just like that. But John Grebar equal to the task again. Sticks come together at the face-off circle. Anderson possesses. Nearly lost it behind the net, but Ryan Bates doubles back to recover it. Poole, cross-rink pass. Bates again steps up to Moss. Couldn't get it by Ryan Bates, though. That close to a 3-on-1 down low if they could have gotten by the big D man. Ryan Bates continues to chug down the left wing, and Braden Bates runs him off eventually, but no, Ryan Bates still all over it and bounces it back to the point for Poole to send in deep. It eluded the reach of Henke, who hasn't done a ton in this game. Had an early chance in the first period on a wraparound, but the Cougars have largely kept him in check. Here he comes, though. Shot it off the outside of the net. The Grand Haven fans thought he might have scored as they saw the water bottle pop on top of the goal. Clear to the line, but glove down by Avery Anderson. Shooting stick save by Jacob Aaron. And it caroms to the end glass. Poole went down on a heap. Play continues. Another penalty coming, and it's against Keaton Poole of Grand Haven. Aaron off for an extra attacker. Kwiatkowski dangerously in front of his own net. Watch out there. And now Braden Bates takes possession and turns it over at center, but that's all right because Catholic Central is going to get another power play as Poole is going to the box again, this time with 3:53 to go in overtime. So Poole loses his discipline for Grand Haven. And talk about a prime-time opportunity to end this game and advance to the second round of the winner's bracket in the Tier 2 OK tournament. Here we go. Second power play for Catholic Central. Kapinga gets the duty at the faceoff dot. Has a lefty shot on the left side, and he obliges with a faceoff win. Bates looking, got a man in front, and a wrister right into the belly of Gribar, and he hangs on. I think doing that again would be just fine. Carlander comes off, Cooper Moss comes on for the Cougars. It's a 4-on-3. In theory, should benefit the power play more than just your garden variety 5-on-4. Kwiatkowski takes the exchange, shot it, pad, save Gribar. He saw it again somehow. Through the screen. Bates rifles it, save, rebound, Kapinga, stopped by Gribar, and no further play. Oh, there was some daylight, but Gribar, to his credit, closed it down. Usually you get a goalie moving and those legs open up, but not that time. Kapinga got good wood to it. And the Buccaneers skaters all came over and congratulated their goalie for keeping the game going. And a clear in on Jacob Aaron, right on net. He tries to settle that rolling puck. Bates takes possession with 3:19 remaining in overtime. Kapinga pulls it in, drifting, and sending a pass back to the point. Kwiatkowski skating forward for the shot, and it's blocked. Got his momentum going toward the net. Braden, though, wiped him out. Back with it come the Buccaneers. Down the far side, O'Brien whacked down, and a penalty coming up against Catholic Central. It's going to be a 3-on-3. O'Brien drew the call, and it looks like Isaac Kapinga is going to the box. That'll even it up. And that'll make things really interesting. 3-on-3. We've seen it a lot in the NHL at the college level over the past several years. Hooking the call. Catholic Central 0 for 2 on the power play. They were that close a couple of times. Henke for the all-important face-off against Dozema. And who's going to take it? 2-on-1 scrum. Henke comes out of there with it for Grand Haven. Takes it right to the goal. Stuff try. He lifted it, but Aaron shut down that short side post. And we'll do it again from that face-off circle. 56 seconds remaining on the penalty to Grand Haven's Keaton Poole. So that's how long we'll have 3-on-3 play in sudden death. Dozema to the bench. Cooper Moss will take this face-off. And so it's Moss with Ten Harmsel and Onstad. Two defensemen out there for Catholic Central. Wrist shot toward the goal. Patted out by Aaron. And here come the Cougars now. Casey Ten Harmsel lined up a shot, couldn't get it away. Now he has a backhand attempt toward the front of the net. Another penalty. You can't have a 3-on-2, so it'll be a 4-on-3. Penalties galore in this overtime. That's the third one called. And number 18, Avery Anderson, called for restraining one of the Cougars. You can't have fewer than 3 skaters on the ice, so Catholic Central will get an extra body on the ice. It'll be 4-on-3 again for 40 seconds. Then it gets confusing because then the penalty runs out. It'll go back to 4-on-4 for 55 seconds after that. And then at the end of the overtime, if we're still alive playing, it'll go back to a power play, 4-on-3. Actually, it might be 5-on-4 at that point. Yeah, they're going to have to sort this out because it's really confusing at the moment. Just because the artificial 4-on-4 for overtime, that changes everything. Like I said, you can't have fewer than 3 skaters on the ice, according to USA hockey rules, at least. Quite the discussion among the referees and linesmen. Everyone refreshing themselves on the rule book. This situation does not come up very often. Third power play for Catholic Central. Well, they can end all this madness with a goal in the next 40 seconds, and then we don't have to worry about anything else after that. Dozema versus Henke at the dot. Dozema wins it straight back, but the Buccaneers are first to it. Oh no, Kwiatkowski lunged down. Wilkie, breakaway to win it. Wilkie scored. Grand Haven wins it 1-0 in overtime. The defenseman, the senior, Ben Wilkie, the co-captain, scores on the breakaway, shorthanded. And the Buccaneers advance to play on Friday, 7:30 at the Blue Rink. The Cougars, meanwhile, will be on the green rink at 7:30 as they fall, and they will head off to the other side of the bracket, shall we say. They'll still play 3 games this week, but they cannot win the Tier 2 tournament. Jacob Aaron getting hugs from his teammates as the Buccaneers celebrate. That's a tough one for Catholic Central as they fall in overtime, their first overtime loss of the season. They had won their previous overtime game. Neglected to mention that against Midland Dow way back in late November. Ben Wilkie, though, even though Cooper Moss won the faceoff, it fell into a dead zone there, no man's land, if you will, and the Buccaneers took advantage. Wilkie, his 6th goal this season. He's their leading scoring defenseman. I'm not sure he's had a breakaway so far this year until then. And the forehand move and the stuff by Aaron, the net came off, but before that, the puck had gone over the goal line. So Wilkie wins it with 2:24 to go in sudden death. Shorthanded overtime goal. 3-on-4 shorthanded overtime goal. Tremendous fight from both teams. The Cougars salute their fans. Like I said, they'll play on Friday either way. It'll be on the green rink at 7:30 against the loser of West Ottawa and Forest Hills Northern and Eastern, which is coming up next. The Cougars have lost 6 games in a row. They're now 9-13. The Buccaneers improved to 7-13-2. Well, that one was unpredictable. That was a new one on me for sure. As we come to the end of another Catholic Central game, the Cougars will return to Southside on Friday, and they'll play another game on Saturday as well.